Okay everyone, thank you for joining me for my final presentation on how to actually brew kombucha. So the first time we went over where kombucha came from and kind of how where it comes from and the health benefits of it all. Second one, we went over all the products you need. I have a list of kind of everything that we need right now, and I believe I have it all with me. Hopefully, bear with me if I don't. And so we're going to get started right now. So what I'm going to start with is brewing my kombucha. It is, to start, you're going to take 4 cups of water. I created my own little measuring cup right here. So 4 cups of water, and then you're going to brew 6 teas. So you can either do tea bags, which is what I'm going to be doing, or you can do you can steep the tea. I like to just do the tea bags because it's a little bit easier. If you were to steep them, you would be doing 3 ounces of the tea. So I'm just going to get this ready, and then I'm going to let it boil. Meanwhile, I'm going to talk about sanitizing. So sanitizing, as I said in the first couple, is a very important thing to do. If you are brewing your kombucha in a desanitized area, then you may run the chance of getting mold onto your product. So I've mostly sanitized everything. This is the bowl that I'm going to be putting the SCOBY in for when we're restarting it. So I'm going to sanitize this, and then I'm also going to show you how I sanitize one of the bottles. So all I do is, I've already washed these, and then it's very easy. I just take water and I fill it up, and then I add a little vinegar, because vinegar is a very good disinfectant. I let it sit for a little bit. And that's kind of about it. So when I first get started, I kind of do this to all of my stuff. I already did it to my pan that I had done the water. I've done it to this. I did it to my measuring cups. I did it to my cutting board and my knives, the funnel. Basically everything I like to sanitize, just because if it is unsanitized, getting mold is not good. My last batch that I brewed, I did it kind of as an experiment, just to see how unsanitized you had to be. And so I didn't really clean everything that well, and it grew mold. So that is just a heads up. Mold is definitely not a good thing on your SCOBY. And if you ever see it on there, you're going to want to just get rid of it, because it'll make you very sick. So then I just kind of dump out the vinegar and just give it a quick rinse. So as that is still brewing, I am going to flavor my bottles. So for this batch, I've decided to do 2 different flavors. I'm going to do lime, ginger, and a rose pear. And so we have a couple of different bottles options. Let me just change my slideshow here. So this is the brewing tea. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So we have a couple different bottle options. This right here, all of the requirements is that it needs to be airtight container. So something like this. This I thought was really great at first because it's very cute, but it's also not that feasible because it's kind of hard to get a funnel going into it. So then I kind of switched over to this bottle, which is an old kombucha bottle that I got, one of the big bottles, and this works much better. It does still have an airtight container on it right here, which is what it came with. And you can also use growlers and canning jars, which I kind of went over in that last speech too. So for bottling, you can kind of do whatever you want when it comes to bottling. I've done a lot of different things. I've done blueberry, I've done like spices like turmeric, or different flowers, like I'm doing rose on this one. any sort of fruit, any sort of spices. I tried doing like a Dr. Pepper one last time, which turned out all right. If anybody likes Dr. Pepper.
Give that to Rodney. He like that.
Yeah, so there, it's very easy to bottle. We'll start with the lime and ginger. I've already washed this lime. And basically, I cut the ginger up, and there's no real direct measurements. It's kind of up to your taste. From my experience, ginger can get kind of strong, so I don't do too much. Maybe just I don't know, half a teaspoon. And then the lime, I am going to just use my funnel, squeeze it in there. I think I'm just going to do 2 bottles. I think what I have is enough to do a total of 3 bottles. These 2 pints, and then this one is, I believe, a liter, so it should be enough. So there's 1, and I think I'm going to do 1 whole lime for each one, because this lime is not very juicy. But again, that's kind of up to you, what you want to do.
Is it a big deal if the seeds go in?
Not really. It doesn't really matter. Well, I've actually cut quite a few of these limes and I haven't found any seeds in them, which is why I guess I wasn't concerned. But the lemons that I had been using, they had a lot of seeds, and I usually pick them out, so long as I remember. And you can also, if you have a juicer, you can use, you can juice your stuff and put it in there. I think it would be better because it's not going to leave you with little chunks and floaties. I just don't have a juicer. So in the future, when I get to be big time, then
you have that to look forward to.
Probably invest in a juicer. Alrighty. So we've got our lime and ginger done, ready to go. And then we'll do the pear and rose in here. I cut up a bunch of pears. I took off the peels. I've done apple before, and you can leave the peels on them, and it worked out just fine. The pears, peels are just kind of weird on them, I think. I've actually never tried pear in kombucha before, so this one will be a real treat. And again, this is kind of up to you as to how much you want to use. With fruit slices, I generally do about a 1/4 cup. I'm going to probably do just a little bit less than this whole thing. So if I were doing this into this little bottle, I probably would have done this amount. Whereas this one is kind of like 3 or 4 times the size, so I decided to do that much. And then our rose. And the rose, I like to cut off the little end of it. And it doesn't need to be washed or anything, because I believe it's already sanitized, because this is our edible roses. It's not just like something random that's not been cleaned. And
do you just buy edible roses from the regular grocery store? I don't think I've ever seen that.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I got it at the Natural Pantry.
Okay.
I've also done like hibiscus or lavender, which was pretty good. So I'm going to do 4 roses. The roses, they have pretty good smell to them. And you can taste, it's not like super strong. It's a very subtle, the rose. I just really like it. I don't think you like rose, do you?
I'm not.
Okay, I remember that now. Okay, so I'm going to check on my water. It is almost boiling, not quite. I like to wait for it to get to a rapid boil before I start. So what we will do is we will continue on. This is my batch from before. This is the kombucha and the SCOBY. So this little thing floating up here is the SCOBY. And this is obviously all that we're going to bottle. So what we're going to do is come over here. I'm going to re-sanitize my hands because I've been touching a lot of stuff. And the SCOBY is definitely the one that you don't want to get infected because then it's going to get moldy. So all I do for this is I take vinegar and I dump it on my hand. And then I just rub my hands together and then rinse them. I don't use soap because soap sometimes leaves a residue which can get into the SCOBY and it can kill it. And so then you've killed your SCOBY and you won't continue brewing until you get a new SCOBY. So all you do is this kind of feels like a waxy, it looks slimy and gross, but really it's more just waxy. And I just reach into it with my hands, grab it out, put it in my bowl, and then you just need 1 cup to start a new batch. So if I wanted to keep this batch and I wasn't ready to start a new one, I would use 2 cups of the starter juice because that's what it's going to be sitting in, but I'll talk to you guys about that just a little bit later. Okay, so my water is boiling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off and then I'm going to get my tea bags. 6 tea bags, and then you boil it or let it steep for 7 minutes. So I'm just going to look at the clock right now. It says 5:29, so we'll just kind of keep an eye on that. What will that be? 5:36? 5:36 will be our time. That steep. So I like to just gather all of my bags and kind of move them around, get them really starting to mix, and then just let them sit there. Okay, so now I'm going to continue on with this. I did the 1 cup of starter juice and then the SCOBY. And let me switch my slideshow. One thing that you can do before that I forgot to do was taste your tea. So the tea is done every up to 7 days is kind of the earliest that you would want to start rebrewing it. But it can stay for up to 30 days or so. And all you do is I have this little thing right here and you just, so it's a little bit bitter, but I like it bitter. If you want it sweeter, you would brew it for less amount of time. If you want it more bitter, then you would brew it for more amount of time. My favorite amount of time is 12 days. I started this one on the 18th, so it's been a little bit more than 12 days. But, and then again, like I was saying, if I wanted to do I'm going to switch my slideshow because I'm getting a little off. I was a little off on my times. So feeding your SCOBY, you would boil 2 cups of water and 3 tea bags and add a half a cup of sugar. That's basically just feeding it like a concentrated part. And then you would mix it with your SCOBY and your 2 cups of your starter juice. And then you can just let that sit. When you're ready to start a new batch, you would just use the 1 cup of the starter juice and then your SCOBY. And you would do it as I was doing this batch right here. Yeah. So now we are going to bottle the kombucha, which I'm going to come over here with you guys. Actually, I'm going to clear off this slide real quick.
How do you know if you kill your SCOBY?
It doesn't grow. So when you first put it in here, you put it in obviously this piece right here. And slowly you see a thin layer of film starting to grow on top, and then it slowly grows even more and more. And if you never get that layer, then you know that it is not growing. bottling the kombucha. Oops. Which just involves this in your funnel. It's fairly easy because we already flavored it. And so we'll do this one first because it'll give me a little more leverage. And literally, all you do is you just pour it in. And what you like to do is fill it all the way up. The more air it has in it, the less fizzy it gets. It likes to be nice and full. So, about like that on the one. There's a rose petal in there. And on this one. On these bottles with the bigger neck, you'll see how far I fill it up, almost to the top as well. About like that. And this. I think I'm going to have the perfect amount. That math. Whoops. And I spill a lot. So you just kind of have to be ready for that. Especially, I could get a better funnel. That's probably part of the problem. Because this one doesn't go right into it. Oops. I'll do a little bit more there. If any of you guys want to taste this, I mean,
yes, please.
It's a little, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll try it.
It's a little bit bitter right now. Because of
No, thank you for me.
Okay. You can try it when it's all finished. So this is before it goes through its second fermentation. What the second fermentation does is it makes it bubbly. And then it also sweetens up because you are mixing it with the juice.
Delicious.
Is it good?
Yeah. I kind of expected it not be right like at this stage.
Yeah, no, it tastes. It
so it's
changes.
in a stage that's still like good to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do just drink it at this stage.
Okay.
They don't always go through the second fermentation, and you don't have to. I like it because I like carbonated drinks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a soda replacement.
Right.
Like it's soda replacement. So then storing these bottles, they get stored in a dark place, and then you have to burp them. It kind of depends on how long you leave them in the cupboard. You can do it anywhere from 2 to 5 days. And the way that you burp them, with these bottles, I like to burp them every day. Actually, 2 days. Every 2 days for these. And like 2 to 3 days for this, just because there's so much more in there. And all you do is you literally just open it up a little bit just to let the air out, and then close it back up and put it back in the pantry. A tip from me is that if you are going to put it in the fridge, don't burp it right before you put it in the fridge because it loses a bunch of its carbonation. And what stops it from getting carbonated is the fridge. The coldness kills a SCOBY. If it goes below a certain temperature, that SCOBY will stop growing. So you can actually grow a SCOBY from itself. Like I could take this starter juice and mix it with some yeast and sugar and a few other things. I'm not really sure. I've never done it before, but you can grow a SCOBY from itself.
What's a mother?
A mother is this. So, well, this is not the mother. This is a child of the. But the mother is just the beginning of the very start. The
Okay,
first.
so if you were to grow your own one.
Yeah,
that'd be
but
mother.
you don't necessarily. It's not like a sourdough starters where you keep the sourdough This is, you peel it off and you get rid of a layer, and then you either keep that layer and start a new batch, or you throw it away, or you can, like, some people put it on their faces, or some people eat it. Cool. And it's just kind of straight. So I've finished my steeping, and all I do is I just throw that away. And so what this is, we'll go back to my other slide here. Okay, so we steeped our tea, and then it's just 1 cup of sugar. I use organic cane sugar. You can use regular white sugar. You can use honey. You can use molasses. You can use a less refined sugar or more refined sugar, kind of whatever you want. It is with the different sugars you use, there's different amounts. I've done it with honey once, and it was a half a cup of honey rather than 1 cup. I think it's because it's so concentrated. And sanitize my spoon. And you stir it all up. And so this is just sweet tea. Again, it's that 4 cups of water and the 6 tea bags. And we'll just kind of let that sit for a second. And then this is our new batch. So if I want to drink it, then I will. Otherwise,
You should put it in a cup because I'll drink it.
Oh, we will.
You got one right there.
It's not big enough.
Sure you don't want to try it?
I'm good,
Okay, so with this, I watch off my previous writing. I always record what I had, what kind of tea I used and when I started it. And then I did the same, add more vinegar.
You go through a lot of vinegar, huh?
Yeah. And then I don't fill it all the way up. I just swirl it around. This is already sanitized because it came out of a sanitized place. So theoretically it should be good. I don't always wash it. You don't have to. And in fact, I could have left that juice in there and just added to it. But this one was kind of full anyways because I did a little bit more than 1 gallon. And so you take 8 cups of cold water. Got my handy dandy measuring cups. And then you mix it with your 4 cups of sweet tea mixture. And you add your SCOBY back into it. I've got my 8 cups. Before you add your SCOBY into it, you take the temperature of it. The temperature should be anywhere between 68 and 84. So I like to make sure it's in that range before I add my SCOBY, because if it's too hot, it may kill it. If it's too cold, it may kill it as well. Just like that. And temperature gauge. So I got this, I actually ordered a kit online and it came with my kit. But this just sticks right on. You can get these at regular grocery stores. They put it on fish tanks too. And so it looks like we're chilling between 84 and 86. So that should be pretty good. I like to give it a little stir. Just to get all the water moving through and cool it down. And I also do a hand feel on it, which is not quite ready yet. But what I would do here is then I would just add my SCOBY into it. I pick it up just like I did before, and then I dump my starter juice in afterwards. And then I cover it with my cloth. This is just a linen cloth. You can use a paper towel. anything that's breathable, it can't have like a regular lid on it because that needs oxygen to grow. That, and yeah, that is how you go through a batch of growing your own kombucha. And then I'm going to show you really quick my moldy one. So this one got a little out of hand because I didn't anticipate how long it would actually be before. So this is a very moldy one, but as you can see, it's got a bunch of blackness on it.
Wow.
And actually now you can kind of smell it. The reason I kind of wanted to do it is because from what I had read online is that you could smell the mold and you could it was really obvious that it was mold. But honestly, it wasn't as obvious as I had thought it would be. At first, when I was like, gosh, that just looks funky, looks different. I'm going to get it away from this one.
Smart.
And I just kept watching it. It was growing in like little circular dots rather than like the thin layer that it does. But I smelt it and it smelled fine. And then a couple days later, there was a little piece that kind of looked like mold, and I was like, something's not right. And then a few days after that, it started with a little black, like quarter size.
And you would not
piece.
drink that.
You would not drink that. You would get rid of it. And yeah. And then it can also grow in like green. That's a little bit more obvious also. But the best way to tell is to just let it grow, and eventually I think you would be able to tell that it's mold. But in the first stages, so if it were like the 7 days, you may want to keep it for a little bit longer than that. But I believe that is it. Thank you guys.